Good evening. I hereby call this October the 10th meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. Before we get started, I always like to take an opportunity to recognize all of our staff who are in the room, who help to make the departments of public safety go well. So thank you for all that you do. I want to start by recognizing our Director of Emergency Management, Mr. Mel Sattler. Thank you for being here today, and staff. Our Police Chief, Chief Barry Roundtree, and staff, thank you for being here as well. And also we have a room full of wonderful firefighters led by our Chief of Fire, Chief Mayo, who is also here. So thank each and every one of you for what you do. I want to recognize the City Manager, Lee Garrity, the City Attorney, Ms. Angela Carmen, members of the committee. We've got a fairly short agenda today. There are some items on the consent agenda. For those who aren't familiar with the process, items on the consent agenda will be unanimously approved with one motion unless a council member wishes it to be pulled for consideration. With that being said, are there any items that should be pulled for consideration? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move for approval of consent items.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. The consent agenda is approved. Item G1, please.
Item G1, recognition of the Winston-Salem Firefighter Combat Challenge and Rescue Team.
And of course, leading us in this recognition, I know he has a couple of pieces of great news today, is again our Fire Chief, Chief Mayo. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember McIntosh. I think if I may have just a moment, Mr. Chairman, I'll introduce some staff members who are here with us this afternoon. Assistant Chief Frank Stowe is here with us, Chief of Logistics, also Battalion Chief Darrell Sawyer, who is actually acting tonight as a Division Chief, and Battalion Chief Darren Needham back in the corner there. They're joining us tonight. All these folks are, these battalion and division chiefs are on duty tonight. Also, like to point out that this is Fire Prevention Month, and yesterday commenced Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week is always starts on the Sunday where the anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire falls. You know, we talk about you all consider a lot of things at this committee that are related to the public safety and reducing those threats. And I thought it was appropriate, and all the things you consider, guns and knives and chainsaws and lawnmowers and stairs and ladders and all those things that people have at their homes, that is not the most dangerous thing in their house. The most dangerous thing in their house is a stove, and everybody has one. We answer a working house fire in this city about every 40 hours, and about a little more than half of those are the result of unattended cooking. So I think this is a good opportunity to point out the danger of your stove. Everybody has it. You walk by it all the time. You know, it's sort of like electricity. We've been around it so long that we just take it for granted without thinking about the dangers of your stove. So beware of your stove. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Duly noted. Thank you, Chief.
First, I would like to call up the Firefighter Combat Challenge Team, and I'll tell you, Mr. Chairman, we are running a little bit thin this evening. We have two members of the old guys. Now, you've seen these guys before. I'll remind you, this is the Winston-Salem Firefighter Combat Challenge Team is the longest running combat challenge team in the history of the sport, and the Firefighter Combat Challenge is billed as the toughest 2 minutes in sports. So, gentlemen, if you will step up. These old guys that you've seen before are Dwayne Cheek, who is not able to join us tonight. John Pennington is here, and Bill Petrantonio is here. You'll remember Bill is retired from the Everett, Massachusetts Fire Department. He runs with our team. And Brad Duncan is also a member of this team. He's from the Charlotte Fire Department. And then Ricky Browning is typically here. He was not able to make it. Ricky Brown is on this team. He was not able to make it with us tonight. So a few things here. One of the things I want to point out is all these guys volunteer their time. We try to pay their way to the best of our ability, but they self-select and they volunteer their time. They come in early before shift and train. They stay after the shift when they get off the next morning and train, and I think that's an admirable quality. It takes a lot of dedication to perform at the level that these guys do. So back in August, the 26th through the 28th of August in Louisville, the over 40 team, you guys aren't on the over 40 team. Nobody here from the over 40 team. So if you're older than, if the over 40 team, you can run on that team at 39 and a half years old. Now you can be 80 and run on that team, you just can't be younger than 39 and a half. So, and that's important, and I'll tell you why. So our over 40 team finished first in the over 40 relay. Now we've got some guys on that team who are in their upper 40s. Yes? So they're running against guys who are potentially as young as 39 and a half. That over 40 team also finished fourth in the open relay. Now in the open relay, they're running against guys in their late teens and 20s. How young can you be to run this challenge? 18. So they could. So we've got guys in their upper 40s running against guys who are potentially 18 years old, and they finished placed fourth in that competition. And then the over 50 team, they placed second in the over 40 relay. So in that open division, in that over 40 division, we claimed both first and second place, and then fourth in the open. So quite a remarkable demonstration of how to maintain your youth. So, and then these young guys that you see standing back here, Louisville was their first time out, and they qualified to go to the World Championships with a time of 1:29 seconds. And the World Championships are coming up in Montgomery, Alabama, at the end of this month. So I'd like for you to join me in wishing these guys good luck as they go off and represent the city of Winston-Salem Fire Department in Montgomery for the Firefighter Combat Challenge World Championships.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, man. Congratulations. So the last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is to call that we only have two members of our rescue team here, of our competition rescue team here tonight. And again, I think it's important to point out the dedication of these guys. They self-select and they volunteer to do this. They train on their days off, and they're good at what they do. So this is a 6-person team, and 2 of the members are in Shelby for collapsed structure rescue training this week, and 2 members are in Edgecombe County. So we have 4 people in Edgecombe County as part of a rescue team we sent down last night, and 2 of those members are part of this competition team. And those 4 water rescue team members who are in Edgecombe County, they rescued 6 individuals sometime between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. this morning. They took a break, they redeployed, rescued 3 off the roof of a car this morning, and then they were reassigned they were in a little unincorporated community in Edgecombe County called Dunbar. They were reassigned from Dunbar. They married up with North Carolina National Guard Deuce and a Half, and they are now in Tarboro, where they've made 7 rescues this afternoon. So again, the city of Winston-Salem and its fire department are being well represented, and we're proud of these guys. So for the rescue team, so this was, the rescue competition was in September 11th. So this is Travis Franklin and Chris Kiesler. They're the 2 members we could get here tonight. So Marcus Drawn and James Brinkley, they finished. So they have 2 competitions. They have a 2-man rescue competition, and they have a six person. And the 6th person, that's the kind of the granddaddy of the competition. So in the 2-person competition, Captain Marcus Drawn and James Brinkley, they finished second. That's called the Helms Rescue Challenge. And then Justin Grubbs and Chris Kiesler, who's standing on your left, finished 6th in that Helms Rescue 2-person challenge. But then again, overall, the big competition is the 6-person North Carolina Technical Rescue Competition. And the The team from Winston-Salem won first place for 2 years. This is the second year in a row that they have won first place in that competition. That competition is not made for fire departments. It's made for rescue squads who do rescue all the time. So I think it's worthy of noting that we send a fire department up there who does a lot of other things. We don't specialize just on technical rescue, and they've been able to bring home the big trophy 2 years in a row. So we wanted to share that with you tonight. I appreciate your time.
All right. Chief, I just want to say before you take your seat, we thank you for your leadership. We thank all of the firemen and firewomen who help to keep us safe, and we appreciate your service to our community, not only in competition. As an old former student athlete, both in college and high school, I know what it takes to do what you do, and I would never be able at my age to get out and run with some 18-year-olds. So you stay in shape, you represent us on that facet, but you also work to keep us safe. And from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak on behalf of this committee, we appreciate you. I was going to say we love you, and I held back, but I won't. We love you, and we appreciate what you do. So thanks again. Mayor Pro Tem Burke.
Yes, I was going to say, when you have individuals, whether they're young or older citizens, and they can participate in things that can affect people who do not have healthy bodies. So it says when you start with the chief, you look healthy.
Thank you.
And your men, most of them look healthy also. And when they get to be an age like I am, I hope they can hold their shoulders back and have a good brain and move forward. And that is when you are healthy in what you eat. It's not the outside, it's the inside. When you keep that like it ought to be, then you can run, jump, participate with discussions, and feel good. So you are an example for all of us. And for those who are not quite on board, and I'm talking about the fire department, I'm talking about in general, in this city, let us get more healthy by following these men. Look at how well groomed they look and how they're keeping themselves healthy. And it starts with you, Chief. You're a good example for them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilmember McIntosh.
First, I want to say I want to express my gratitude for the rescue efforts down in eastern North Carolina. We've got family down there. They were not negatively impacted, but so many people were, and I'm just proud that we were able to send a crew down there to help out because they need all the help they can get. Secondly, I think it's really very impressive and a very good sign that we have as competitive a group of people in our fire department as we have. I think that says a lot about the folks that we hire and train and retain. So thank you, and congratulations on that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And again, we've got the best fire department in the country. We appreciate what you do once again.
They called from the state yesterday and they said we need the best, and that's what we sent them.
I love it. I love it. That's a good way to end. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Item G2, please.
Item G2, Winston-Salem Police Department's Gang Unit and Gang Steering Committee's activities.
All right. Giving us the report on the gang unit. Let's see. I'll start with our police chief, Chief Roundtree, and I know there are some other people who will be giving some presentations. Ms. Sneed, recognize Ms. Peoples Joyner. So, Chief Roundtree, you have the floor, sir. I hope you didn't try to jump on our fire chief and take that trophy out of his hand now.
I was asking why was he leaving? Good evening, Chairman Taylor, Mayor Pro Tem Burke,
Good evening.
and Councilmember McIntosh. I'll let the staff provide these reports tonight. The subject matter experts that will be providing these reports will be our gang unit sergeant, Sergeant Doss, and also Jamie Sneed, who's the co-chair of the gang steering committee, of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Gang Steering Committee, along with WSPD staff, Mrs. Pam Joyner. So at this point, I'll ask Sergeant Doss to come forward.
Thank you, Chief. Sergeant Doss, how are you, sir? Good evening. Good evening. You have the floor.
All right. Good evening again. My name is Sergeant Scott Doss. I am the gang unit supervisor here at the police department. I attended the last public safety committee meeting, and Mayor Pro Tem Burke raised a couple questions about how the gang unit partners with the Forsyth County school system. So I prepared a report for tonight. Before I get started with that, I assumed you guys would want to know some demographics. What population are we dealing with here? So I broke down in this screen here our total number of gang members here in the city by ages. As you can see, I went from 12 to 65. That age group is about right at 1,200 total gang members. And then Ms. Burke asked about school age, so I also broke it down from those 12-year-olds to 19-year-olds, and we're in that 235 range. A lot of people see those numbers and you see the 12 to 65, and people ask, how do we still have 65-year-olds in gangs? What they had to take into consideration is those are our outlaw motorcycle gangs.
Okay.
We do have a couple of those here in the city limits, and that population is generally an older crowd. It's not so young. So this is one of the first things I wanted to hit on was our school resource officers. As you know now, all the schools, all the middle schools and high schools in the city limits are staffed by Winston-Salem police officers. That's our direct connection to these schools. It's been a very, very valuable resource. Then when I took over the gang unit, I took it a step further. When these SROs have issues in their schools, they would call the gang unit. And not all of the 10 members may be aware of what problems are in a certain school. So what I did is I assigned every gang unit officer to a middle school and a high school. Those are their primary responsibilities. Any issues that go on in that school, the SRO contacts that gang unit officer. That way my officers, they get a sense of ownership. We are in contact with the schools weekly. We're in and out of the schools. So this has been a very important information gap bridge between the students and the gang unit. Now, I wanted to hit on the gang awareness training. Mayor Pro Tem asked about how many sessions we're doing in these schools. These gang awareness sessions are available to, as you see, faculty, staff, parents, guardians, students, neighborhood watch groups, religious organizations, basically anybody that contacts me and would like to have a gang awareness session done for them. That way they can see what's going on in their surroundings and they can know and recognize if gangs are in their community. I'm currently working with Mr. Jonathan Wilson. I don't know if you guys know him. He is the new security director for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. He happened to be a probation officer before that, so I already knew him, so we had a very good rapport. So he's actually been in contact with me now, and we're trying to line up some training for all of the assistant principals in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. Get all the APs together and give them one big gang awareness session. The total number, we're in about the 20. We've done about 20 gang awareness sessions over the past year. In direct correlation to our students, our Super Kids unit here at the police department gives training to all 5th grade students, and they give out pamphlets and literature on why not to join gangs, the results of joining gangs, and basically making those positive life choices and providing resources for a successful educational career. And I think Mayor Pro Tem asked about what's been the response from the schools, so I wanted to address that. It's been a very positive relationship going with the schools. The principals, assistant principals, guidance counselors, they're very happy to see the police come in. We'll go through the hallways, we go to lunch, we're in the cafeterias, the students actually see us, and they feel, the officers are there, and they can approach us, very approachable, come up and ask us questions. These are some of the events that we've done. We've been to sporting events. We go to football games, Friday night football games. I recently went to a car wash over here at Carter G School. We do the Christmas program at the Kennedy Learning Center, so we're in the schools constantly. And I feel like this, we open that line of communication between the students and the officers. In conclusion, I'd just like to say we work very closely with the school system to provide that safe, gang-free learning environment. And for the second part of the presentation, I'll introduce Ms. Jenny Sneed, who is part of the gang steering committee here we have in the city.
Sergeant Doss, before you take your seat,
Yes, sir.
members of the committee, are there any questions for Sergeant Doss? Okay.
I've got one, just a quick one.
Yes, sir.
McIntosh.
We had 2016 numbers here. Any clue as to whether are we seeing the numbers increase or decrease, or are we?
The trend lately is the numbers are coming down, which is obviously a positive thing. But when I speak of numbers, the numbers are constantly fluctuating. We have kids getting into gangs, but we also have people aging out of gangs. So we get them sometime in the younger ages, but they start to age out and they start to realize, there's nothing positive about joining a gang. They realize they've got to get out and get employment. They've got to raise a family. So the numbers kind of go up and down, but we are staying fairly close.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. And as Ms. Sneed comes to the podium, I will say Not only is she vice chair of the committee, but for those who might be watching the publication from the audience, I know firsthand that she really cares about the work that she does. Her background is with Reclaiming Futures, whether it might be the Juvenile Drug Treatment Court Program or the Department of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, and we have been colleagues along the way. So, Ms. Sneed, I appreciate what you do, and please give your name and address for the record, please, before you begin.
Okay. First of all, it is now Moore. My name is Jimmy Moore, and my address is 4050 Hunting Green Lane, Apartment A, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27106.
Ms. Moore.
Yes.
All right.
Officially. Where is it now? I'm trying to get us there. Okay. So here we go. All right. So my name is Jimmy Moore, and I am one of the co-chairs for the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Gang Steering Committee. And the goal of the Gang Steering Committee is, as you see up here, to provide a multifaceted, strategic problem-solving approach to address the gang-related issues facing the community. Community is probably one of the most important words in that definition because it is community-driven. I am not with the Winston-Salem Police Department. I am a part of this committee because I care about, as Mr. Taylor said, I care about the kids in this community. So I've been a part of this committee since 2009. I've been a vice chair since 2011. I am, or was, the Reclaiming Futures project director here in Forsyth County, which put me in contact with a lot of the kids in this community that are either in gangs or at risk of becoming gang involved. So here are some of the things that we've been doing in the 2015-2016 year. Here are some of our partnerships. We've partnered with Durham County Gang Reduction Committee, and part of the purpose of these partnerships is for us to look at best practices in reducing gang involvement, to look at interventions that are across the state, and to look at, more importantly, I think, prevention methods across the state. It's great to do intervention tactics, but it's very important to try to prevention tactics. So on June 15th of 2016, the Gang Steering Committee liaison presented at the Executive Board Committee board meeting this year. July the 20th, there was a presentation at the Gang Housing Authority meeting. And August the 17th, we had Jim Stewart, who is the gang data manager, I believe, gang reduction manager in Durham, presented statewide data at the Gang Steering Committee meeting. Some of the other things that we've done this year, and this was very exciting, we did a mental health training. There's a training that's offered through our LME here, or MCO, which is now Cardinal Innovation Services. They did a youth mental health first aid certification training on March 4th at Senior Services. We had 13 of our committee members, which are all community members, if I'm not mistaken, representatives of the community that have the same passion and drive that I do, that are interested in knowing what tactics to do to approach kids that may be having a mental health crisis to kind of de-escalate that situation. So we had 13 members that were trained, and there will be an adult mental health first aid certification training in March of 2017. The importance to this training is that it gives everyday individuals in the community access to information and resources to identify when a crisis is going on. Not to jump in and become a first responder or to jump in and become therapeutic, but to understand that there may be a mental health crisis going on and to help and assist those persons that are at that crisis point. Because we all know that when a crisis happens, not only does the person that is in that crisis, not only are they at risk, but those around them are also at risk. One of the other important things that we did this year was, without giving too much information, there was an individual that the Gang Steering Committee assisted the Winston-Salem Police Department with in coordinating counseling services for this particular individual and his mother. Committee members were hands-on and met with the family and DSS to assess the needs of the entire family. The Gang Steering Committee was instrumental in providing aftercare services for the youth and the family. And we can't give a whole lot of detail because it's confidential. The confidentiality protects the individuals that are involved, be it if there is a gang member that is interested in getting out of the gang, a youth that feels like he or she is at pressure of becoming a gang member and doesn't want to have anything to do with that, or if there are victims of an offense that has occurred by members of a gang. I also say that in my job, I've worked with several kids in the city that either have been victims of offenses by gang members who have been left in the wake of a death. We had a death here about maybe 6 months ago of a young man on the northeast side of town. He was a kid that was receiving services from my agency for counseling. He was in my group, and so there were 6 kids that were left devastated by his death. There was talk that it was gang-related. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wasn't investigating that crime, but we offered hands-on response to those kids, and I've talked with Pam about it and let her know what was going on. So as a committee member and as an employee of my agency, we reached out and tried to help those kids that were in need at that time. So it's all about community and having partnerships with those individuals in the community that can access resources that otherwise these families may not know about. Here are some pictures from one of our conferences. We had this one. This was held in 2014, I believe. So what we did was we had an overall presentation that we did with community members. It was open to the community that came out. Sergeant Doss provided statistical information about what was going on. Can't remember what the numbers were, but it was a pretty decent turnout. We did a tour of the city where community members were able to see what graffiti looks like and see some of the areas in the city that are concerns for Winston-Salem Police Department. And we came back, we did strategic problem solving. We talked about issues that are at large for the community. We talked about issues that we as a committee may not know about and the Winston-Salem Police Department may not know about, so that we can come back and share that information with the police department. And then we talked about strategic planning. That was how some of the first aid mental health trainings and some of those things arose, because the community really wants to know what can they do to partner with the city to reduce this problem. So here's a list of our executive committee members. Marcelette Orange is our chair, and then you have a list of the co-chairs. You have Pastor Jason Sloan, myself, now Jimmy Moore, Pastor Curtis Friday, and our committee liaison is Pam Peoples-Joyner. And that is pretty much what we have to report thus far.
Ms. Moore, I want to thank you for that presentation. Sergeant Dawson, Ms. Peoples-Joyner, I want to thank you for what you do on behalf of the Gang Steering Committee. Councilmember Burke has been extremely involved in bringing this to fruition, so we appreciate you, Councilmember Burke. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any comments or questions about what we've seen today?
I've heard some very interesting information, but what I would like to get, not today, I mean, when you look at the group of children or young people you're working with, how are you involving the parents with them?
Well, it's different things. A lot of the things that we do are refer kids to what I like to call positive youth engagement activities. And a lot of those positive youth engagement or positive youth development activities, there is a parent component to it, where moms and dads have to come in and do, even if it's orientation, they have to do some kind of report. There's that kind of component. A lot of the kids that Pam has talked with me about, we've gotten them in, we've done assessments with them for mental health services, and I always recommend a family-driven mental health service, because whatever behaviors that you see in the child, you cannot remove the child from his or her environment, so there should always be some kind of involvement with the family. That includes things like multi-systemic therapy or what we call functional family therapy. I also strongly believe, and Pam can vouch for that, that services should be provided in the home. We can take kids out, take them to the group homes, we can take them to counselors' offices, we can do all this nice, lovely stuff. But if kids are not in their environment and if they're not in their community, they're not going to foster as well as they would. You take that therapeutic intervention into the home, you get moms and dads that are on board. Mom and dad are hearing exactly what's been said to the child is hearing what's been said to mom and dad. They can practice it right there at home. So a lot of times it involves finding those community resources that are within, that we have a wealth of resources if we would work well together here in Winston-Salem. But finding the perfect resource that works for this particular family, getting them in there, and then having Pam come in and do follow-up, or whomever it is on the committee doing follow-up with that family to see how well they're doing. But connecting them to the right resource that does have a family component and a parent component to it.
I appreciate what you've done. I was a counselor, so I with children and people. When you look at these homes, how much communication are you having directly with the parents to get them involved? Are they being support for each other? Let's say if all of us sitting here, we have children involved with the gang.
There are opportunities for that, and I can only think of maybe one family that I was connected with that came through the gang steering community in the past that was interested in that, and this was a family that we connected them to Southside Rides. And Mr. Moore later called me, and Mom was very excited about what we had to offer her And it was an older kid. He was probably about 18 or 19, which is not typical what I'm used to working with. But mom was very excited. So we were able to connect her. I connected her with what I do, a parent cafe here in the city. And so I was able to connect her with that parent cafe, even though that cafe is for kids that are typically were in the juvenile drug treatment court setting. We were able to open it up to her and let her come and participate. And she became one of our more active parents. So it's not something that's publicly advertised, and that's what I'm saying. We could figure out some kind of way to focus on prevention and work better together as a community. We could be powerful and impact this, but it's not a lot of things that are well advertised. But she asked about it. It was offered to her. She took the initiative to come out and join us, and she stayed with us probably for about 3 or 4 months, and she came to them, regularly.
So we appreciate you volunteering your time, and we need some more individuals. We're looking now for people between 18 and 34 to try to get them more involved, like you, coming to the city, help us because we need it. And then the city manager has stretched the age to 50 because people are aging out. Even our city staff people aging out. And you have neighborhood association people aging out. Mm-hmm. And we see it every time we have our night out. And the folks that we just say, it's time for some other folks. So if you know anyone else who's interested like you, come in, get them involved.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was going to ask Sergeant Doss a question. How close do you all, the same students that she's speaking about, do you all have same communication with these students?
Yes, ma'am. When we run into individuals that want to get out of the gangs, that's where I lean on Ms. Pam Peoples Joyner. And I send her a referral, and she gets in contact with the intervention and prevention specialist and seeks that treatment for that individual. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And Ms. Moore, I imagine a lot of families want to be involved with the treatment services inside of the home, and we know some families do not. Some of the students that we work with are court-ordered, but how do you deal with families who should participate in those services for the right reasons, but for some reason or another don't want to participate?
I have a real simple answer. I don't wear a robe and I don't wear a badge. So all I do is just say, hey, just give me a chance. If you don't like it, that's up to you. But whatever it is that you're dealing with and whatever it is that you're going through, I've seen it all, I've heard it all, there's nothing that can surprise me, and I'm not judgmental. So once you let their guard down, I mean, you'd be amazed at some of the things that, you're able to achieve. We had some pretty interesting things that have happened in some in-home sessions. We've had some guns turned over to us. I mean, we've had some, the guard really does get let down. So that's why I say the home environment, it puts you on an even playing field with families, and they are no longer defensive. They've invited you into their home. You're going to respect their home and their space. That's what we're taught in our training. So the defense is down. So I've had guns turned into me. I've had marijuana turned into me. I've had cocaine turned into me. So, it really does create a different environment for those families. And they do come in kicking and screaming a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But mom is tired, dad is tired, and the kid is tired. And you're like, okay, you guys have tried everything else. Let's just try this and see how it works. Yep.
Councilman McIntosh.
Appreciate the work.
All right. So we thank you for the presentation, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm
Mayor Pro Tem.
going to share this. People have been talking about these children. They off the hook or something they've been saying, off the chain or something they've been saying. So a lady was going to email me the name of the person you contact to do substitute teaching. And I'm going to start on I pray and ask God, on a weekly basis, 1 day a week, to go out and do some substitute teaching. Because it's hard for me to believe that in America, with all we offer, that children cannot be taught. And I want to take the schools that they say happen to be the worst. I don't think that's nice to even say that about where children go. I'll take the schools that are the difficult ones that they say, and to see, but I haven't started yet. But my computer's down, but I'm planning on starting that. And I would hope that and we do have teachers who are older like me, who have gone back, and they're doing, and sometimes we have, they say, a little more patience to work with these children and to try to see if all the money we spend in education, if we can get them beyond. And I did tell somebody I used to actually teach third graders, but then I went from that into the guidance area. So when I apply for one of these jobs, I'm not going to take them in the second grade. I'm going to take through second. I'm not going to take the older ones third on up. Pray that I do this.
I want to be there to see a session or two.
Well, I love people.
Right.
I love people.
God bless
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Item G3, please.
Item G3, restriction of animal acts and circuses within the city. This item was continued from the August and September meetings of the Public Safety Committee.
And before we touch item G3, Chief Roundtree, we skipped over you. Did you want to say anything on that item?
Yes, thank you. I was just going to briefly recognize the staff that we have here tonight as well. I do have Assistant Chief Katrina Thompson. She's here tonight. Assistant Chief Scott Brooker. And Assistant Chief Wilson Weaver. And also, I'll call Lori our staff also, but she's here as well. I do want to add, too, that October is Domestic Violence Month. We kicked off our initial program last Wednesday with a program at the Innovation Quarter. Several of our homicides this year have been domestic related. So we do have several more events that are scheduled for the rest of the month. We do have a car that we wrapped this year again. Speaking of domestic violence, that car will appear in several different events around the city, including the Winston-Salem State Homecoming Parade, as well as several other events that we'll have here coming up in the month of October.
Thank you, Chief.
And Chief, you're keeping it together too.
Thank you.
Need help.
Thank you.
We had the city secretary read the role for item G3. And just to give a little bit of background information, I think Mr. Turner is going to give us the report. We had a group of citizens who came to us a few months back who made the request for us to take a look at the possibility of banning wild animals in circus acts here in the city of Winston-Salem. From that city council meeting, we then sent it to committee to have discussion. We've had some discussions about the matter. We've had some questions that have arisen. Some of those questions have been answered. And now this item is back in committee to determine how we might be able to best move forward with this item. We wanted to make sure that we heard from those who were in support of the ban, but we wanted to give an opportunity for those who were not in support of the ban to have a voice, because when we're talking about legislation and doing things from the committee level, it's good to give feedback and get feedback from all angles of the community, and that was the point of holding this item in committee. So with that being said, I wanted to draw the framework for the discussion. Mr. Turner, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman, one of the questions the committee asked was about the animal acts the city has had at its facilities. That information is on page 21 of your agenda book. And as you can see, there haven't been a lot of wild animals. There have been some domesticated animals, but we have had an elephant encounter, equestrian show, wolf pack, rolling dog, stop, and excuse me, there has been a petting farm at the circus, and we've also had a circus at the Straight Show in the past. This past fair, there was a camel at the facility. So that, as far as I'm aware, is the only wild animal or wildly designated animal in some circumstances that we've had at the facility this season. There was also a question asked offline of staff as to whether there have been any problems with animal acts in the city of Winston-Salem. As far as we're aware, there have not. There have not been any as far as we're aware. Then in addition to that, at your places, there is an item that came in just this afternoon from someone who's indicating their support for not having restrictions on animals at circuses and indicating her feelings on how animals are treated at circuses, at least the ones she has worked at. Be happy to answer any questions you may have about the items presented.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Members of the committee, and if you've been watching your emails as I have, we have started to receive a number of people who are concerned about the ban, which is what we wanted to put it out for public consumption. We have 2 people sign up to speak today. I would recommend that we hear those speakers out, give them maybe 3 minutes or so to speak, and then we can make a decision how we might best consider this item. Signed up first on the agenda is...
Would you like for us to consider it, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, please.
I would like to.
When I was speaking, I saw some nodding of heads, so I assumed that to be affirmative. thank you for making that that comment, Pro Tem Burke. Ms. Smith, we have signed up first to speak. If you would give us your name and your address for the record, and you have about 2 or 3 minutes to speak, please.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Colleen Smith. My address is 209 Gillian Lane, Holly Springs, North Carolina. I just wanted to touch base again on some of the issues as to why wild and exotic animals in circuses should be banned. First off, I do want to say that the public perception has changed. Matter of fact, I was one of those people that did attend the circus, as many of us probably have. But some of the questions now what we know, we need to address that and how things have changed. We know that over 30 countries and 50 cities in the U.S. have some type of ban on wild and exotic animals. Some have a full ban on all animals. It just differs from city to city, country to country. We also know that it is possible for elephants to possibly carry tuberculosis, which can be passed from elephant to human. I mentioned the last time about Dallas, Texas, they had banned 2 of the elephants from performing in 2015 because of issues of that. We know that these animals are wild and that they can go wild at any time. We have seen on videos elephants, maybe you remember the 3 elephants that were running wild in the parking lot. I know Martha had showed you a video of the 2 elephants fighting in the circus. The workers were having difficulty gaining control. That was undercover video footage. These things are happening that we're not seeing. There was also a tiger that had escaped in Kansas at the Shrine Circus in a bathroom. A woman met this tiger right there. That could have, thank goodness it didn't, but we know what could have happened. These animals endure brutal training practices. I have pictures of that. I don't know if I can put them there, but I don't know if you guys have seen a bull hook. What that looks like. They are beat with this. Elephants are electroshocked. They are severely confined, 9 to 11 months. They are on the road, and tigers and lions in tiny cages barely can move on the road. Large cats are spending 75 to 99% of their time in cages. Elephants spend 58 to 98% of their time chained by at least one leg. I have pictures of that. I mentioned I had been to Cirque Italia. They were in Winston-Salem a few years ago. They were just recently in Greensboro and Raleigh. There's Cirque du Soleil. I mean, there's other options, animal-free circuses. Times are changing, and we're just asking Winston-Salem, to change with the times and to ban circuses with wild and exotic animals. Thank you.
Also signed up to speak is Ms. Martha Cecil. Ms. Cecil, you have the floor. If you'll give us your name and address for the record, please.
Martha Cecil, 2026 Creekwood Drive, Greensboro, 27407. I'm happy to be here again. As always, we are here together and individually to speak out for circus animals who have no choice and no voice. We are specifically dedicated to ban wild and exotic animal circuses, traveling zoos, and roadside zoos. To be clear, our focus is not on other venues. Please keep in mind this doesn't mean the end of circuses. We would love to see you invite all human circuses like she was talking about. As I understand it, there are a few options you are considering: to ban wild animal circuses altogether, to adopt rules for the handling and management of animals in circuses while in the city, and possible restrictions to animal acts. Whether there are proposed changes and restrictions in the treatment of animals or not, please realize that chains and cages are abuse, and they are inhumane. That's why we go straight to banning. We want to do the right thing for the suffering animals, not half right. Also, I think it was asked if there were any problems in the past here. As we've shown and spoken about, there are documented events like Colleen talked about as well. Thankfully, there haven't been any here. However, if you just think along the lines that if there were a remote possibility of an incident here, then we ask you to give due consideration to eliminating that risk. We would hate to see any city anywhere to become another statistic. And I think it was asked if there were other public awareness discussions. Absolutely, every year we have exhibits in Winston-Salem, Piedmont Earth Day Fair, Greensboro Summer Solstice, and Greensboro Pride. Our mission first is to educate the public. We are so proud to say that there are an incredible number of people who stop at our exhibits. Some people said they'd never even thought of all of this before, hadn't crossed their mind. And seeing their expression change, which we see a lot, as we discuss this, that we're going what we are meant, then we're doing what we are meant to do. And there are others who say they're so happy to find us. Through education, people are happy to sign petitions and get on our mailing list to receive information about protests. And I was going to ask a question about when you choose to submit a proposal to the City Council, what the next steps are, and then I have a final comment.
Okay. Thank you for your time. So do you want to make your final comment, and then we'll do our best to answer your question?
Yes, I do. I can't tell you how much we, and I personally, express gratitude for your growing interest and understanding of this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cecil. And to attempt to answer your question, when a proposal is submitted to the City Council, and my colleagues can back me up if necessary, that proposal then comes to committee for consideration. Once it leaves committee, it goes back to the full council for consideration. If it leaves committee with a recommendation, this particular item has been somewhat sensitive just because of the complexity of the issue. We actually have 4 options, and at first we were only hearing from one side. So again, we wanted to put it out to the community and hear from all sides. We've heard from those sides. Members of the committee, just to refresh our memory, we can implement a citywide ban on all animals. We can implement the ban on the use of wild animals in our circuses. We can adopt rules for handling the management of animals in circuses while in the city, or we can leave kind of the existing ordinances in place and work through the animal control department and through the state to see if they can address those issues. Recently, I have heard from the staff and the city attorney's office. One of the things I promised and we thought about was definitely not extending the ban to the Dixie Classic Fair. And when the media reached out to me and when the community reached out to me, I said, hey, this would not have anything to do with the fair. But what I'm hearing from our legal department is if we considered a ban or restrictions or whatever the case may be, that might also extend to the Dixie Classic Fair. And I wanted to make the committee members aware of that. You know, I'm always a fan of measuring 10 times and cutting once. And before we vote on something, making sure that we go through all of the implications of what might be. So you've heard everything that we have to say about it. So members of the committee, what is the pleasure of the committee on how we might be able to best move forward? Councilmember McIntosh.
We've got 4 options. I'm not sure I'm really comfortable that the option I want to see is amongst those 4, so I may throw something back out. I think anybody who has heard the pleas and the arguments from the folks who want the ban, your heart goes out to them, and you know that there has been a history of abusive behavior on the part of some circus owners. So to me, the issue is whether we are encouraging and helping folks be cruel to animals. I think it's a cruelty to animals issue in my mind. It's somewhat theoretical because we do not, it doesn't look like from history we allow or we have had events in the city where wild animals have been part of it. So having seen some of the arguments from the other side, it appears that there are sort of good actors and bad actors. I would be most comfortable with having a setup where if someone wanted to bring wild animals into the city of Winston-Salem, they would have to be part of an organization like the ZAA, the Zoological Association of America, or some group that can demonstrate that they have standards that they apply and that they adhere to. I do think that there are some very good arguments about maintaining stock of animals that are rare and endangered. And to me, I wouldn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just have a complete ban. So I think if somebody can demonstrate to us that they abide by principles and they have good practices, I would not want to ban those people from bringing animals in our city. I don't know if that can be worked into the sort of the management, the handling and management. Can that be part of that?
Potentially, we can look at that concept.
Okay. And just to see what kind of associations exist, and if one of them would fit the kind of model that I'm talking about.
Any other suggestions outside of the 4 options that we've presented? So it's a 5th option. And Madam City Attorney, if you will investigate whether or not this will actually be applicable to the Dixie Classic Fair. We want to be clear with our constituents when we make a decision. Okay, we have an audience member who wishes to speak. Is there any opposition to that? Just give your name and address again for the record.
Colleen Smith, 209 Gillian Lane, Holly Springs, North Carolina. I just wanted to make a quick comment. I know from Animal Defenders International, Christina Scaringe has reached out to you. She helps write bans, the language of the ban. She has helped Asheville, North Carolina do that. So I don't know if you wanted to reach out to her and, say, how could we do this, but we don't want to affect the Dixie Classic Fair. So I just wanted to point that out. She does this all over the world, actually.
And if you could leave that contact information with the city attorney, we'll make sure we reach out to her and get her input.
Okay.
It's always good to have more than enough input than not enough, so thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Any other options that we need to consider, members of the committee? And to the ladies and the gentlemen who came to talk about this item, we don't want to ask you to keep coming down here if we're not going to make a decision, but we owe it to the citizens to make sure we evaluate this thing front to back and make a proper, detailed decision. I know you wouldn't expect anything less. With that being said, if there's nothing further, we will continue to hold this item in committee. We'll investigate those things that have represented themselves and presented themselves, and we will bring this item back to committee. Mr. City Manager, do we have the ability to do it in November? For November? So we'll look at the December calendar. All right?
Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Pro Tem Burke.
I was going to also say, we might have a lot of people. The city being this size, we have a small number, and the number we have, some of them are from out of town. And I think whatever information comes in, City Manager, Mr. Turner, that we're documenting telephone calls. And I don't know if we have some little mechanism we could set up. If you're interested in this proposal, you could call in.
Right.
If you're not interested, because we're only looking at a small population right now.
And to Mayor Pro Tem Burke's point, Mr. City Manager, as things progress, we know we utilize social media a lot. I do. If we could maybe work with Mr. McNeil in Marketing Communications to put it out on social media, make sure we document those comments. And the same way they've sent us emails, just have a copy and a detailed record about who's saying what to help us make the best decisions we possibly can. Is there anything else for the good of the order? That is the completion of our agenda. Seeing that there is nothing further, we consider this committee meeting to be adjourned. Thank you.